Whose game is it?
Alabama! But to be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo!
Here comes Alabama.
Welcome in to the Bama Standard post-game show. Alabama wins 34-0 on homecoming. They're running wild right now on the strip, so we got to make this a quick show so that Daniel Petty can get to Galette's since he is the master of ceremony. But go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Chat, let's get rowdy tonight. If you're watching the replay, get in the comment section below. Show us some love there. Let us know your thoughts. This is a show for the fans. We're going to be answering all your questions tonight, so get everything in. Go ahead and get rowdy with all of us because we got the all-star crew. With me tonight is the innovator of sarcasm, the host of the greatest mailbag segment there is, the illustrious Daniel Petty. And then
What's up, guys? Sorry,
right next to him, the host of Crimson Dynasty. And when she speaks, the entire world listens, especially Auburn Nation, ladies and gentlemen. Cici Payne.
Hey, I know they're in the chat tonight. being raggedy like they are.
Being raggedy.
Mhm.
Being raggedy. Hey, find something you're good at, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And just below, the true star of not only the show, but the network in general, the hardest working man on the Bama Standard Network, the Dan James.
What's up, Roll Tide, y'all? Big win.
Huge win. We'll take it all day long. And then number 11 in your programs, and number 1 in your hearts, and number 1 on the final whistle, a man that is the king of controversy this past week, and I think is responsible ultimately for Nick Sheridan's awakening in this game. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Cadell.
Roll Tide, everybody. Let's get it started. Hit that like, subscribe button.
Let's do it. Hey, as always, what we like to do on this show before we start to kind of break things down and kind of figure out what happened, we like to get the media reaction of the panel. So let's go ahead and go around the room. I'll start with you, Matt, since you were the king of controversy. Your video right now is currently over 12,000 views. Sparked a lot of conversation this week. Maybe set a fire a little bit in one Nick Sheridan. Talk to us about what you saw and actually how what you talked about kind of played out before your eyes.
Yeah, I was just glad to see us get a victory in the SEC. We know how tough this conference is. You know, Brady Cook tried to go against it. But I'm going to stick with Nick Sheridan. Listen, it's funny how when you run pistol, you just make a little tweak here and there. The offensive running attack opens up. Listen, I saw Milroe carrying out play fakes. I mean, the RPOs seem to be humming a little bit better. I think he minimized his reads. Jam Miller got going. Justice Haynes with the angry run of the year so far. I mean, it started looking like Alabama football, and, you know, I'm glad to see, you know, us get there. We still got a long way to go. I'm glad to see us play a kind of a complete SEC game, you know, finish the game. You know, we still got some penalties, but I think we're going in the right direction, especially going into the bye week and the big LSU game down in Baton Rouge. But defensively, shouts out to the defense. I know Missouri was down, but listen, SEC win. You got to take them. Alabama's been beat up so much. We got to take as much positivity as possible. And I got to shout this kid out. Bray Hubbard, I think really I think our defense plays with a little – it seems like we're in our right – I'm not going to say – I think it seems like we're – playing a lot better as a team, having him on the back end, if that makes sense. Just looking at the cohesiveness, looking like he's getting the guys in the right place. So it's him and Malachi look really good back there. And listen, I don't know who played for Red Morgan, Devontae Smith, or whoever, but listen, we need to kind of keep this 11 rolling right here. I give it to Dan.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, impressive win, especially the second half. This is probably the best second half we played in a while. We came out and like Matt said, run the ball. When you run the ball, it makes everything much easier. And shout out, Matt said, Bray Hubbard, man. I think we found our guy at safety. He allows us to be able to, play over the top. He's sideline to sideline. I like what I've seen from him, and he can come up and run support. Tremendous game from him. I love what I'm seeing from him. Much better game from the offensive line. Hey, Justice Haynes, you're hitting the hole a little bit better, running more aggressively, more decisively. Huge shout out. We still some things we got to clean up as far as the penalties. But the third down conversion, that was terrible, but overall, a much better game, so I'm gonna give a shout out, but we still, it starts with us running the ball. We got to be more aggressive on offense.
See, I'd love to hear from you, especially after what you were wanting to see or demanding to see, I guess you could say, from earlier this week in the Crimson Dynasty. Penalties were cleaned up. Matter of fact, they were cut in half from this previous week as 7 as opposed to 15. Looked a lot better, but that first half, it looked like we were sleepwalking. I felt like that we were zombies out there and just really weren't altogether enthused about playing homecoming at Bryant-Denny Stadium. But what did you see? And, what do you feel like kind of jump-started Alabama to eventually pull away big?
Yeah, going into this game, my biggest thing was how would we respond, right? I mean, of course, the news around the sports nation is that Alabama has 2 losses before November. So I was curious how we would respond going into this game, especially being that, of course, it's an SEC game, but it's literally after, we lost to Tennessee and then right before bye week going down to Louisiana. So I was really curious how we would respond on offense and defense. I believe what we saw tonight is what we expected to see after we lost to Vandy and then we played South Carolina. I believe the response that we saw tonight is kind of what we wanted to see then, like certain things kind of cleaned up and see the team play a full 4 quarters on both sides. And I believe we got that tonight. So, I do think this is it may not be exactly 100% of what anybody wanted to see, but I think overall this is definitely a positive sign. I mean, if I was, even one of the more, I guess, negative type fans or more of those fair weather fans where they want to cheer for Alabama when you're doing good and then you would think they're an Auburn fan when we're doing bad. I think if I were one of them, I would feel good right now because a lot we see the defense play strong. Wommack's dad had to stop him from running on that field. I mean, we just see that fire, right? We see Coach DeBoer and that fire that he had in him. And that's what we want to see. Like I said, Bray Hubbard with that interception, Malachi Moore with the interception, Quindarius Robinson with a lot of pressure. I mean, some of these guys, they really stepped up. We had Devontae Smith back from the injury. So I was definitely excited. I know we're going to get into some of the details later, so I'll just keep it there.
I love that. I love the enthusiasm from you, most definitely. And I'm really excited about the enthusiasm of one Daniel Petty. There's nothing like talking to him during games. If we're not doing so hot, just talking to him and his the way he lays things out just makes everything a lot better. But I know that maybe the skeptics are going to say, well, Alabama was able to capitalize on the fact that Missouri had a significant amount of players out. We're dealing with Drew Pine, who really could not do hardly anything. If we have a healthy Brady Cook, maybe things look a little bit different. But even saying all that, despite all that, what really, I guess, can we come away with that makes us feel a lot better going into LSU?
That this game wasn't about Missouri, regardless of their injuries. Like I said, they had a lot. And, like Matt said, you got to deal with that in the SEC. But this game wasn't about Missouri. After the Tennessee loss, after a lot of noise in the media that could have really gotten to the locker room this week, I was curious how the guys were going to respond as a team. Were they going to come out with some fight? I could, show some give a shit. And, man, I think the quintessential showed some give a shit today was on that very final goal line stand where, man, there was a little bit of heart and pride about keeping that 0 on the scoreboard. And that told me, look, man, I know that you may not say a lot to some people, but to me, that says a world about this team's give a shit. They cared. That just, And that's something, man, we've all kind of worried about. And yeah, it was a malaise in the first half. It was really a slow death. Look, when Cook went out, Missouri was no threat to score. Bama just was too talented on defense. The defense was flying around. I thought a lot of people answered the bell. I know a lot of guys you named, but I think Jahad Campbell led the team in tackles today. He seemed to play a little pissed off. Rusal was looking good. But it was more about Alabama. How did they respond after Tennessee, after all the criticism in a week where everybody was coming at them and people were saying there's problems in the locker room? I wanted to see how certain guys responded, and I was really impressed, man. You saw Milroe go up at the end of the game and hug Wommack and say thank you. Thank you for what the defense did today. Because, yeah, the offense didn't get it, but it did get going. And, like Matt said, I was glad to see go to the pistol. Run the damn ball, man. Give Haynes more touches. Good Lord. He obviously wants more because he was running pissed off at the end saying, give me the rock. And before just the pissed off run, the vision he had on the long run prior to that where he cut across the field, man, I want to see more touches. But, it is what it is. You can nitpick, but this is a 34-0 game where you salted away. And, again, it wasn't about Missouri. We're going to beat Missouri if Bama takes care of Bama. And I felt like they did tonight. I felt like that was a team that answered the bell after a really, really rough week. And now you get to go in an off week with some salve on some wounds where you're going in with a 34-0 victory, and you can fix some stuff, get a week off going down to Death Valley, which is going to be another damn, hornet's nest.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think you just mentioned something that I think we lost sight of, not only in this victory, but leading up to it. We have been surrounded by controversy right now. Bama has not looked like Bama. We've been on a steady decline ever since the Georgia game for whatever reason. We're still trying to figure that out. But anytime you're in a funk, and I guess you can even call it quicksand, where you're sinking and you're fighting, and you don't know how to quite get out of it, wins like this can help you pull yourself out. The biggest thing right now is just getting a win and winning in a convincing fashion to where you have some kind of positivity coming in. And you can build off that. And thank goodness we have a week off to start working on things. And biggest thing for us is healing up. That's really huge right now. We got a lot of key players banged up. We had backups playing in significant roles today, and they played extremely well. So big win. Love it. Let's start to break it down a little bit. Before we do that, we already got a super chat from Upgrade $4.99. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you. How's that 4.25? Do you guys still want Saban to come in and install the 4.3 now like you did a few weeks ago? You guys are fair earths.
I think he's probably drinking.
Probably so.
That doesn't. That's not coherent.
I've always thought I was a fair C, not so much earth, but more like a sea guy, like fair C.
I prefer the beach, so
Listen, when you lose, everybody's gonna complain. When you put your shutout, you're the smartest thing. That's just how football goes. But
let's pump the brakes. That was great defensive effort against a very pedestrian offense.
But to answer your question, Upgrade, the 4.25 has 3-4, 4-3 components.
Exactly.
It's multiple.
That's what people don't understand.
Yeah, so we can have a guy walk up on the edge and it's a 5-2-4, whatever you want to say. So it has versatility to run a 4-3. What we're gonna say.
And Matt, let me ask you, because you're a former player at Alabama, right? And I have family that played there. And sometimes when we talk about the game, I think people don't quite understand that 4-2-5 versus the 4-3, and just basically that's more of like a base scheme, right? And how easy it is. That's why you see even within different, you could be in the same drive to some degree. You could switch it out depending on what that offense is about to do. I mean, if you see it's about to be a passing play, then you know that maybe a 4-2-5 could be the right go-to, but it's just it's not sustainable every single play. Right. I feel like going to that 4-3, that's where I haven't seen him before, but that's when we would ask for like a Justin Jefferson to be put in the middle, or you have a safety come up. So I mean, you can still, that's just your base more than anything.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, we're able to do it. It's just in the 4-3, you have maybe 3 guys with their hands on the ground and one standing up. In the 4-2-5, maybe both ends are standing up and 2 D tackles are, with their hands. But at the end of the day, it's kind of the same concept. But I do think Kane Wommack is kind of starting to get in his, looks like his play card is getting a little bit bigger and a little bit more creative. He's getting a little bit more aggressive. He knows how to defend. I've seen where we had 5 down linemen on the front. So
Yeah.
I think he's understanding his defense, and they're kind of meshing a little bit better.
And even knowing when to stack the box as well. You know what I mean? Like, that's something else too. I mean, and people have to remember that when Coach Saban was still there, we ran a 4-2-5 at times. It's not like it's just something that's just, absurd we never seen before. But it was just, I think it was more so because it seemed like with Womack, he didn't know when to switch between the two. And that's an issue in the SEC because it's hard to stop the run if you're doing that consistently throughout the game. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I want to shout out something Petty mentioned, talking about that fire that we have. I was so excited to see, you see Milroe go chat, hype up, give Kane Wommack a congratulations. You see the defense, the reserve, when they were trying to pitch the shutout, guys on the sideline cheering for the defense. Like, we seem like we had more juice on the sideline. We seem like we had more energy. We played together, and all those things, it's been such a transition ever since Coach Saban retired. I think to play a kind of a complete game and finish the game and have energy and juice, I think that's going to pay dividends on down the road. And hopefully, we've learned from going into Knoxville losing, going into Nashville and losing. So, and hopefully that prepares us to buckle down these next 2 weeks going into Baton Rouge. I just want to highlight that.
That's a huge part right there, Matt. Yeah, one of the biggest things that I think has been to our detriment is the fact that we're not on the sideline. That energy, that juice is not there. We're not holding each other accountable. We're not getting in each other's face. We got some players going into their little fortress of solitude away from each other instead of being present in the moment. And it's all great when everything's going right, like what we saw today. You enjoy it. You love to see what we saw today. Fantastic. But what about when things aren't going well at all? Are we going to still be that energized? Are we still going to be just going nuts on the sidelines? We'll know in 2 weeks in Baton Rouge. That's a place where we're going to need it, because that's a place where things can get pretty crazy real quick. So we need more of that sideline action for sure. No more funerals. All right. Juice Crew, $2. Caden Proctor, I think, needs to be pulled. I could not disagree more with this. Caden Proctor has only given up 1 sack this entire year. I think he's only been beaten 1 time this entire year. I think on the offensive line, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, on this panel, if he is not the highest graded offensive lineman. So, Juice Crew, I know he gave up a few things today that made you kind of scratch your head, but if it's just a one-time occurrence like what we saw, you know what? It's just going to happen. It's football. Sometimes people are going to get the best of you.
The other team, believe this or not, is trying. And a lot of them have SEC and even NFL defensive linemen. Every team in the SEC this year has 2 or 3 like legit defensive linemen that are probably going to go pro. They win one-on-one matchups from time to time. I know that's crazy.
Yeah, and to your point, Juice Crew, just go back and watch South Carolina, LSU. Will Campbell, who's going to be probably the top offensive tackle coming off the board for LSU.
Top 3 pick.
Kincaid took him and Dylan Stewart took him to the woodshed at play after play after play. So, listen, you don't pull him. It's just in the SEC, you're playing top-notch speed off the edge. Now, what Caden Proctor can do is continue to improve and work on fundamentals and not give up those sacks and, working those preparation. Same with Elijah Pritchard, so, yeah, you're going to get beat. That's just all part of it.
You think of how many reps and snaps they play,
Yeah, I mean, even the greats. Dion got beat.
Not Coach Prime.
Listen, everybody's gotten beat. It's just part of it. Now, if you consistently get beat, that's a different story.
Yeah, Caden Proctor is not the same player he was last year. He's not that confused freshman who seems completely lost and grossly overweight to where he couldn't move his feet around. He's a much improved player. But, hey, we also have to give credit to Missouri's defense. Despite the lack of players on offense for them today. They have arguably one of the best defenses in the SEC, if not the country. So that wasn't a pushover defense. They had some dudes. Johnny Walker came with it every single play until they couldn't, because the offense couldn't stay on the field and they got gassed.
What a fabulous name, by the way.
Absolutely.
Johnny, I thought he played at Georgia. Sorry, my bad.
I thought he was a drink.
Evan Williams and Johnny Walker, I thought they played at Georgia.
All right, let's start to break things down just a little bit. Matt, you're new to this season of the post-game show. What we like to do, a little segment I call Expectation versus Reality, where we take what we were talking about during the week in terms of expectations going in the game and then matching them up to what we actually saw play out on the field. You were one of those guys who had a lot of expectations going into this game, and a lot of people heard what you had to say. So I'll start off with you, but then I'm going to bounce over to Sishi, then down to Dan, and let Petty finish this up. Talk to us about your expectations going into this game against Missouri and how it actually panned out in terms of what really happened.
You know, I'll start with Nick Sheridan. Like I mentioned earlier, I thought he was, he changed the formations. I think him and DeBoer heard our chat and kind of incorporated into it, because I'm like, it's funny how that little change opens up the offense, the playbook. We can do so much. So I was hoping and expecting that we would change some things up. And the reality was it was effective. I think we had our best rushing game. I think our runner, Jalen Milroe, had 2 touchdowns. Justin Haynes had a big touchdown. Richard Young looked good. Daniel Hill. I mean, we were finishing the game, being physical, playing 4 quarters. So that was good to see. Now, I did mention Milroe. Milroe did miss, he looked a lot better, but he had him and Ryan Williams. I still think they need to just play pitch and catch, continue to get in the lab. It was good to hear that they had a film session together. Excuse me. Now they just need to incorporate that on the field. Listen, I don't care. Ryan Williams supposed to break out on that 3rd and 10 or catch or sit right there. At the end of the day, it's football. Pitch and catch. Like, y'all need to have a rapport where, listen, I'm just going to throw you the ball. I just need you to catch it, so, and have a rapport with all the receivers, not just Ryan Williams. If they can get on the same page like they were at the beginning of the season, that could be really, really helpful for us. And listen, I'm excited. That's mine. I'm going to give it up to Sishi.
Yeah, so I actually took a few notes in my phone just to make sure I stay on track, because y'all know how sometimes I can start going off. So I want to make sure I stay on track tonight. Now I'll say Crimson Dynasty, my score prediction was 38-7. So I feel like we were on track there, because I felt like if the team really wanted to go all the way, if they still believed that they could do it, then we would see the changes in this game. And that was essentially what it should look like. And so I'm glad that we held them by even more. But I'll start by saying one thing that I noticed is, with Jalen Milroe, just some of the camaraderie that we did not see last week against Tennessee. So even him talking with some of the players, and I guess that's a little easier to do when you're up and when you're at home and things are going well, but we have to be able to see that when we go down to LSU as well, whether we're up by 14 or if we're down by 14 at some point in the game. So I want to make sure that we keep that consistent, especially from a leadership perspective. The play calling and the execution on offense and defense. One thing that I wanted to see as far as offense is, of course, running the ball, establishing the run, but then also with the receivers, seeing more receivers get their hands on the ball, more targets to other receivers. Of course, Ryan Williams is going to remain in the mix, but I feel like with all the uproar from last week, with Ryan getting almost 20 targets, that's unacceptable. And so I wanted to see Milroe go through his progressions. There were certain things that kind of stood out to me in that regard that I'm going to say for later on, but I just wanted to see other guys get the targets. So like Emmanuel Henderson Jr., he's a guy that we should have been able to target last week. I don't know why we didn't. Kendrick Law, he should have actually gotten more tonight, and I believe last week as well. Kobe Prentice, for some reason, he just, but some of those balls were overthrown. But I wanted to see more guys get their hands on the ball. CJ Dupree did well. So offensively, that's kind of what I was looking for. Defensively, I really wanted to just see us play a full 4 quarters, and I'm glad that we were able to. We were very physical, and so I feel good as far as defense. With offense, I want to see if we can, keep that up. And then it looks like that's pretty much all I had. Yeah, and then defense, making sure that they finish tackles. Don't just come into contact with the players. Actually bring them down, because I don't know if y'all remember, but like even against Vanderbilt, maybe even South Florida, we would come in contact with the opponent, but they would still get a few more yards, and we weren't finishing the play. And that was something that I wanted to see us do, because that can really matter, in these bigger games. So I'll leave it at that. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with tonight.
Excellent. Dan.
Oh, Vandy. We need an onside here, people.
Dan James. There he is. Dramatic pause from Dan James.
I expected us to come out and run the ball. I just didn't expect it to be us to wait till the second half to try to do it, But I figured Missouri would give us a tough run, which they did in the first half. But 3 turnovers, and we were able to capitalize on it for the most part. But I didn't expect to see as many runs for Jalen this game. He had 11 carries, which was as much as Jam Miller. So, but we got the run game going, over 270 yards rushing. Hey, that's huge. It's going to help the offense out tremendously. But I'm still seeing stuff like drop ball. We're missing, throws, that we need to put on the spot, especially like on the screens and things like that. But beautiful throw when he hits CJ Dupree up the sideline. That was a tremendous throw. I saw some good and bad from Jalen. We got to get Prentice back going, man. He seemed to be out of himself today. A couple of drops. But overall, efficient offensive game. We could have been, a lot better. I think we left a little bit on the field. But hey, big win. You chalk it up. It's time to get ready for LSU, because it's going to be a different environment. It's going to be loud, and we're going back into hostile territory. So we got to see what we can do. We're going to have to go in and establish the run, though.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Petty, and microphone is now yours. What were your expectations going into the game versus what you actually saw?
I'll be real, man. I had 0 expectations. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what team we were going to get. I didn't know if it was going to be a team that came out with its hair on fire or a team that came out not giving a shit. I was kind of curious at the beginning because it looked like malaise. But no, man, it just kind of echoing what I said earlier. I felt like the team did answer the bell, and it wasn't about Missouri. It was about Alabama and coming out and kind of establishing some identity and some pride. And I felt like we saw a lot of that today. But to kind of dive into a little more detail, though, I feel like we're starting to see, you were talking about targets, Sishi. Yeah, he had Ryan had 20 targets last week. I think he had 8 today with 3 or 4 catches. But you saw Jeremy Bernard with 6 targets and 5 catches for 80 yards. I thought Bernard was gonna be the safety blanket to take over from Burton last year. This year, and I'll be honest, last couple of games, I do feel like Milroe is starting to get more comfortable with Bernard and starting to get in some kind of a rhythm with him. We've seen him target a little more. We've seen him making more and more plays, and we even saw more of it today. I thought that was a very big positive. Again, I didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to see how the game played out. I wanted to see how guys responded. I was really excited to see us start to, Milroe threw 20 less passes today. So we did go much more into the run game. I'd like to see that run game number still flip a little more from Milroe to Jam and Justice, and maybe a little bit of Richard Young love. Good Lord, boy, get on it, son. I thought he was going to take it. But again, it just didn't have any, but I wanted to see how this team responded after a really tough week in Knoxville. And you can't say it's a 34-0 shutout. You can't ask for much more, man. I guess you could ask for 80-0, maybe a little bit cleaner offense in the first half, is what it is. But after that game, it could have gotten a lot uglier today. So I was happy to see that.
Without a doubt. All right, before we transition to our next topic, we have another super chat from the one, the only Don Parker, who also has bought a membership with our channel. We greatly appreciate that, Don. And we definitely appreciate how active you are with all of us, always voicing what you feel at any given moment. Still have to tell the truth. Good win today overall. However, we still see some of the same issues with fundamentals. We now see what can happen when a running game can be somewhat established. RTR. Couldn't agree more. Great to see Justice Haynes really get involved today. And man, we've already talked about it. That run where he just plowed through the Missouri defender. That right there, folks, was Bama football. Got a little nostalgic right there when I saw that. So let's move on to our next topic here. Let's talk about the things that surprised us. I'm going to start out with Daniel Petty. Then we'll move to Matt, then over to Sishi, then Dan. Talk about some things that kind of surprised you. You already talked about just having their quote unquote give a shit turned on. Was that the biggest surprise to you?
Yep.
Or was it something else?
No, the give a shit. I was glad I looked at the fact, man. You just saw it. You see it in every game. It's the end of the game. You got your backups in. They're starting to drive, and then they just get that touchdown that just pisses everybody off because you wanted that goose egg on the scoreboard. And, man, you just saw the emotion on that sideline. And, look, man, it's little moments. And, Matt, maybe you can chime in with this playing at that level, but anybody that's played on a team knows that there's moments that you look back on and say, that was it. Look, man, you may look back at that one moment where that defense makes that stand and the entire sideline erupts. And like you say, Kane's going crazy. His dad's over there pulling him back. Milroe's hugging him at the end of the game. You know, little moments for a team as talented as Alabama could be dangerous for others because it just takes one spark, man. And if the team starts believing, you know, all the talent in the world's there. So I guess what surprised me is they did answer the bell. I don't want to say I didn't expect them to. You know, it is Alabama. They kind of got a history of doing that. This program has a history of answering the damn bell. So I don't really want to say surprised, but I was curious to see it and delighted. I'll say delighted, not surprised.
Was it Kane that was having me pulled back onto the sideline, or was his dad? Because I think his dad,
his
dad forgot that he's retired.
Yeah, his dad started in the concession stand and made his way to this end zone. And next thing you know, that he's calling the defense on the sideline.
I think Dave forgot that he was retired, but suddenly became a defensive analyst real quick.
I know, right?
Matt, talk to me. Talk about surprises.
Listen, what surprised me was I'm gonna go special teams. You know, Graham Nicholson, he had some. It looked like he was hitting them straight on, dead on. I don't know what happened over the week, but he's starting to look like the kicker that we wanted to have the Luke Roser winner come back. So,
yeah.
What surprised me? Another thing that surprised me, Zay Mincy at safety. He clean clocked that running back. I think that could be really helpful for us. And another thing that really surprised me was, just Alabama finishing the game. I was getting kind of nervous towards the end of the half and the fourth quarter, so, those really kind of stuck out for me.
Okay. I love that. Sishi, talk to me about the surprises you saw. Do they match up with what Petty and Matt have already mentioned? Do you have something that's maybe completely different?
Yeah, they actually do align with what Petty and Matt mentioned. I do. So special teams. One thing that I wanted to note there is I prefer to not necessarily with Graham on the kicking side of things, but on punt returns, I would prefer to see either Emmanuel Henderson Jr. back there. I kind of prefer him or Cole Adams. I don't necessarily like to see Ryan Williams back there. He's the guy that you don't really want to lose in terms of offense on the receiving side of things. So I don't really like to see him back there, but hopefully we can get that locked down because it seems like they're still trying to see who may be best back there. What I kind of jotted down more so pertains to offense, but I was kind of surprised to still see Nick Sheridan in that box. I still want to see him on that sideline. I saw a couple moments where Coach DeBoer would go up to Milroe and talk with him, and I do think that there is a factor there where it's good to have that coordinator on the sideline having that dialogue with the quarterback. That was something that I wanted to see, and I know that we mentioned it this week when we had Steven on Crimson Dynasty. But along with that, I one thing I was thinking about is the O-line, because I noticed that when we were able to make our successful plays, some of them we had that tight end to the right next to Pritchett. So whether that was Robbie Oots or CJ Dupree, and we have to remember too, a few weeks ago, Robbie Oots, I remember in a press conference or an interview or somewhere, he was saying that he actually prefers to block more so than catch. So my thing is, if this is what he prefers to do, then why don't we have him out? I mean, we know that right side sometimes can be a little weak. So why don't we have him blocking? And I know it's kind of more dependent on the play that's being called, but I feel like that's something that we really need to look into, or just kind of maybe switching out Pritchett here and there throughout the game. So that was another thing that I took a note on. And then also Ty Simpson, I wanted to see him play a bit more. I didn't want to see him just in the last 3 to 4 minutes of the game. And I say that because look at the situation that Missouri is in, right? They had Brady, their starting quarterback, and then they have Pine. Well, we see how that played out, right? You don't want it to turn into a situation where you need that backup quarterback, but because he hasn't gotten enough reps, he doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe he doesn't have that, that chemistry with the receivers. Like, I feel like that layer of it is something that we probably should have done earlier in the season, and just for whatever, because he's only been in 2 games, Wisconsin and Western Kentucky, and that doesn't help us in that regard. If Milroe, thank God he said that he's not injured. They had mentioned that someone had asked him about that. There was kind of some chatter going on, and he said, no, I'm not injured. That was for Milroe. But in the case that does happen, God forbid, we want to be able to put someone in. I wanted to see Dylan Lonergan. This guy is awesome. I've been saying it for the last couple of years, but those are my surprising factors. Nothing really on the defense though. So
okay, well said. Before I hand it off to our next panelist, Matt Caddell has to jump off. Brother, we greatly appreciate you being a part of the fun today. Thank you for everything. Before you go, tell folks how they can find you, and then the show that you're on if they have not yet discovered it.
Listen, they're about to close my tab at Gillette, so I got to run to the bar before Petty runs up all the shots. No, listen, you can find me here on the Bama Center, the #1 spot for Alabama football content. You see, I'm here with the amazing panel. Find me on Tuesdays on the Final Whistle, where I will be talking more about Nick Sheridan, what he needs to do to evolve this offense. But as always, roll tide. Thank you all. Y'all are the best.
Thank you,
Hey,
brother.
Matt, hurry your ass up. I told him Yellowhammer's on number 11.
I know.
Rounds on the house.
I'm trying to get a few in. Somebody added some Jaeger bombs and Fireball on there, and I'm like freaking out.
Yellowhammers and Fireball, baby.
Y'all take care. Roll Tide.
Roll
Thank
Tide.
you,
Take care.
I have to echo Cishi too. I thought that we see a lot more of Ty Simpson than what we were given. I had hoped to see him on that series before that final 3 to 4 minutes of the game, just because, what you're saying, Cishi, is very critical. Having those meaningful reps is so important in terms of development, because if we're in a situation where, God forbid, Milroe goes down, what's Ty going to do? Does he have that time, that quality time with his receivers, his back, his offensive line, to kind of learn how he moves, and then him by extension learn how they move? That's something we definitely don't need to be caught in the negative there. I just like to see him to be able to go through his progressions, what that looks like. I also like to see how he responds in the things that we really don't see as the fans if you're not really paying attention. And that's being able to set the protections at the line of scrimmage and change things up. Like we saw earlier, the Richard Young long run was because he saw something and was able to change it up at the last second. And then Richard Young springs for a huge run. I wish he had a little bit more as far as finishing speed, but nonetheless, we saw Richard Young do some amazing things. But Dan, I think you're left to talk to us about your surprises, sir, and we always like hearing from you.
Yeah, my surprise would be, we talked about issues in the locker room and everything. So My surprise was how well the team responded after a slow first half. How they responded in the second half, because from the rumors we were hearing, it could have gone bad and we wouldn't have been surprised, considering what we were hearing. But great second half from this team. Awesome third quarter. We were able to start moving the ball when we started running the ball. That goes hand in hand with running the ball. We run the ball, you can eliminate a whole lot of questions, you know what I'm saying? But we were able to run the ball effectively. I'm surprised that we were able to complete a shutout with so many pieces missing on defense. That would be my biggest surprise. But overall, I say a huge win, and this much needed win, considering the loss to Tennessee, and this team was able to refocus.
I like that. A couple things. Hey, Justin Summerlin, Ty Simpson gets enough reps in practice. We will be fine. Justin, I do have to disagree there. Yes, the practice reps are meaningful, but there's a big difference between practice reps and game reps. That the more game reps you have, the more prepared I think you'll be for the bigger moments when your number is called. But I also like the fact that our secondary seems to be more cohesive. There's a solid foundation there now that Bray Hubbard's a part of it. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but having him in the lineup has really kind of tightened things up and made a big difference. Huge day from that young man today. Love the interception and athletic play by him. He probably could have had another one. Didn't really make a whole lot of mistakes. I think there was maybe one where he kind of got lost in the moment and allowed Pine to get that first down late in the game. But other than that, this young man has grown up very quickly. And this is a kid that was a former high school quarterback. He's just so dang athletic. And all he does is what you tell him to do. And it turns out pretty well. And I like what it's doing for that secondary right now. And Malachi Moore, I think, is able to play at a higher level because he's able to allow Bray do his thing, and a lot of the pressure is taken off his shoulders, and he can distribute it to other guys. So I think there's a trust level that's being grown right before our eyes now that he's in the lineup. All right, let's go on to positive and not so positive takeaways. CC, I know you said we didn't want to dwell on too many negatives today, but nonetheless, let's talk about the positives. Talk to me about what you saw that we can ultimately take away that gives us something to chew on going forward. Then we'll hop up to Petty, and then Dan will finish it up.
Yeah, so a few things that I actually on offense and defense. Offensively, us being able to show that we can play a full 4 quarters. That was one thing. I mean, we can sit here and talk about, they still talk about our game against Georgia, and yeah, that was a notable win, but at the same time, we know as a fan base that we didn't play a full 4 quarters in that game. We took our foot off the gas, and I didn't want to see us do that today, and we didn't do that. So I think that was good. And then also I mentioned earlier being able to target more receivers, maintain drives, and better clock management, better game management overall. So that was something else positive. Defensively, being able to stop the run for the most part. I know that's kind of hit or miss to some degree because their top running back was out. But I mean, they did have a couple other playmakers for the most part that gave Auburn, a run for their money last week. No pun intended. But, so being able to show that we can, stop and be more physical up front, being able to pressure the quarterback, whether it was Brady, Quandarius Robinson. We saw him do that a couple times. LT Overton, James Smith, all these guys like what seems like happened to me. You would think that loss to Vanderbilt would have made them feel maybe whatever they felt this week. It sucks that it took two losses, but it seems like their response, like I said, tonight is probably how we expected them to respond when we played South Carolina. Like, it seemed like they came together this week and they're like, heck no. Like, 2 losses, we're Alabama. We're not even in the top 10 anymore. That has to do something to you when you're in a room full of talented guys and you have all these recruits that are on the outside looking in that pretty much were hyped up by the current players. Like, yeah, this is why you should come here, XYZ. But it's like, well, when we see you out on that field, what are you really doing? Like, is this what I'm coming there for? So I think there was kind of like a come to Jesus moment this week for the guys where they had to really sit down and figure out, okay, what is our identity then? Like, we're doing all this talking and we're having all these interviews, we're getting all over social media, but who are we really, and how do we want this thing to end? And I think that they stepped up to the plate. So, I mean, I'm proud of them. Needless to say, I'm proud of the guys. So.
Great stuff. Petty, what you got for me?
Positive is saw a lot of defensive pressure today. You've been wanting to get more pressure on the quarterback. Defense just played really damn good today, man. They were flying all over the field. They looked pissed off. And I will say that's my positive takeaway. Wasn't a lot of rah-rah shit today. It seemed like more of a business attitude. And that's, and I like that. Like, I want passion, but I want it to be that pissed off passion, not celebrating after everything, because I want my dance to end up on TikTok passion, like our boy AJ said. Now, come show up on highlight reels because you're popping people, and I felt like we saw that today. It just seemed more Alabama today. That looked like, again, it was a slow grind. It felt like a slow death because they weren't getting much on offense, and you knew we weren't doing. It was 3, then 6, and then we finally score a touchdown. Then we slowly start to pull away. But regardless, it just felt like that defense played with some damn passion today. And again, not to keep saying the same thing over and over, but that stop at the end and just the whole team kind of coming together. So the positive takeaway just seemed more like Alabama today.
Dan, what you got for me, sir?
Yes, positive takeaway. 0 turnovers versus 3 takeaways. That's a winning recipe there. 26 rushing attempts from the running backs. That's pretty good. Like to see that number a little higher. But not so positive. 2 of 9 on third downs. Penalties, 7 penalties for 85 yards. We still losing the penalty yard battle every game. We got to get better there too. Those just as detrimental as turnovers. Those 2 things were stood out, but overall great defensive effort, great offensive effort in the second half.
Love it. Now let's get to some super chats. They're starting to pile up on us, and we got to show some love to everybody who is given out of their wallets there. Gavin Kane is the first here, $4.99. This is the Alabama we all been waiting on. Receivers are young and not finishing routes, causing Milroe to be off. I don't necessarily know if it's all on the receivers there. I still think that Milroe is having a hard time hitting those receivers where in stride. I know that you can also argue that Milroe was pressured a lot. Absolutely. But what about the times when he has a clean pocket where there is no pressure, or it's those quick reads? Still, for whatever reason, he's not able to hit them. And I'm not sure why. There's a huge disconnect, and he's not able to see that. But certainly the route running can play a factor, but there have been some ongoing things that's concerning to me, being at not only this point in the year for us and for him, but in this point in his career as an upperclassman. Juice Crew, $2. Runs are better on the outside versus inside. Most definitely.
I don't know, because our 2 biggest runs, were right off the B gap. So I'm not sure.
Like this here. Ollie, $9.99. Off topic, but Bama related. Which truck was better? Justice Haynes or Josh Jacobs' touchdown run versus Oklahoma in the semifinals? What do you think?
Both brutal. But I have to give it to Josh Jacobs because, it was one man to stop him then. And, I have to give that one to Josh Jacobs.
I would have to say Haynes, just because it means more. Like we say in the SEC all the time, it means more. Like this game, had we lost, what you mean playoff contentions? That wouldn't even been a part of the Alabama discussion. So I just feel like everything in this entirety in this game, and he, like you said, Dan earlier, the way that, or Daniel, what you said earlier, the way that Justice ran, you know what I mean? Like just that angry run, like almost like y'all should have been giving me this ball.
Give me that damn ball now.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I do agree to some degree that, Josh was probably up there.
I think it was Lacey's against Michigan State where he knocked that dude for a
Oh
dead flip.
man, yeah.
But I want to echo because I did that. I do a good, like, as far as pissed off run, I feel like that was Haynes saying, "Give me the freaking football, damn it! I'm a dog." I love Haynes. Haynes, I think I want to see more than 9 carries a game. And I know that it's a mix with him and Jam. I want to see the mix be 15-15 with him and Jam.
Right.
Getting 5-6 more carries when those defenses are wearing out, man.
Right.
Again, that's just, we're gonna nitpick, but I don't want to nitpick on a night where you kicked a lot of ass. But man, I do feel like you say, Cici, that was Haynes saying, "Give me the freaking rock."
Yeah, him letting out his frustrations, almost like not necessarily saying the quiet part out loud, but he's making it known, like, "Hey, like I should have been getting this ball, and this is why."
That's the right way to do it. Do that shit show it on the field when you get your opportunity. That's exactly
right. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Gavin Kane, $1.99. DeBoer brought that fire too, Saban type ish. Yeah, it was nice to see our coach animated instead of being Mr. Rogers on the sideline.
I have a question to ask too. Once you, I want to ask y'all something that I kind of been thinking about, but I'll wait until you're finished with the super chat.
Yeah,
well, I think he was pissed off because for the first time, and like I had some people in my house, my daughter's asking me, "Dad, what's going on this play where Overton hit the quarterback?" And I looked at her, I said,
that was crazy. No Wilson.
Wait, no, was it? No, not the Overton. It was the play where on the punt.
On the punt.
With the bumping into the kicker, but then we got the personal foul. Then we took it, and she said,
Yeah.
They
don't know.
We didn't realize that when we brought in Texas, we also brought in the refs. It's just a full-blown new ref crew with Texas that has a whole new set of rules. We were already shitty referees. Now it's shitty referees with a whole different set of tricks that we're trying to figure out. I for the first time today in 40 years, I looked at her. I don't even know what the hell just happened there. I guess we're just hutting it.
This ref crew, Conjunction Junction, what is your function? It looked like we got them off of Craigslist or something, because as a whole, for the entire conference, they just been god awful.
Oh,
Got him off of TikTok.
Yeah.
They got them off TikTok shop. Is that what you said?
Timur.
She.
No. We won't go that far. We say wish.
Not wish. Not wish.
Oh, here's one of our favorites, 334 go. $4.99. We're putting college football on notice that when we tweak our lineup and clean up the penalties / little things, look out, the tide is turning. Roll Tide. And last but not least, Don Parker, $10 will be vital for this team to improve day to day, week to week going forward. Hopefully, they take full advantage of the bye week. Don't need Big Worm pulling up in the ice cream truck. Beat LSU.
Big Worm.
And my money, Smokey.
I know.
All right. Just take a break real quick. We got to get to another sponsor of this fine network. If you are truly celebrating a Crimson Tide victory or going to Baton Rouge, you cannot do it without your title towel. Go to whitwillsports.com today and enter the promo code STANDARD. You get a nice discount courtesy of your favorite Bama network, the Bama Standard Network. So get your towel, folks. Dan just showed it to you right there.
I thought he was doing a magic trick.
Dan disappear.
It did make Dan disappear. That's amazing.
They're magical.
I thought he was doing a magic trick. Like, now you see me, now you don't.
Go get your title towel today.
Look at that. He's got apparently Dan's title towel also doubles as an invisibility cloak. Didn't realize that Dan had spent time at Hogwarts before jumping on the Bama Standard Network.
Kadabra.
The boy who lived. Never mind. All right.
So
now
we're
let's
going
start.
down to the corn dog who must not be spoken.
I love that.
Hey, question. Do y'all feel like we showed up differently and we play a part of us playing different had to do with, I guess, when they made that announcement that Brady was going to play?
I don't know. I think you play how you practice, and for what we were hearing, they had a good week of practice.
Yeah.
So apparently they had a good week of practice, and it showed. This is the first time I think they say we had a good week of practice, and it kind of showed, pretty much, especially on defense.
Yeah, I mean, I know it was a short sample size because he went out so quick, but it just seemed like the defense had like maybe I was thinking it was us against us this week, not us against Missouri and an Alabama mindset. So regardless of who was taking the snaps, I think it was we got to play this game to this standard, get it back.
Yeah, and that's how it should be.
Absolutely. All right. Now we got the bye week coming up, but as we like to do after every game, talk about Alabama going forward. What does that look like? What is this bye week going to do for us in terms of growth, getting things right? But then also, how do we feel going into Baton Rouge? I know we got some time to really kind of dive in and look at the landscape as a whole, but I'd like to kind of get your knee-jerk reaction off of this game and then the previous games, how you feel about going into LSU, but also, too, where is your comfort level in terms of the college football playoffs? Start us out, CC, then we'll go to Dan, and then we'll let Petty round it out.
Well, I mean, I would say having 2 losses before November, I mean, that would embarrass me if I was playing for Alabama, just because that doesn't align with the standard, and not just that, but what we know, as a panel, from certain information that we've been given. I mean, that's enough to really. I would be embarrassed if I were them. So coming off of all of that, what Coach Saban would call rat poison, essentially, and then seeing how we not only beat Missouri tonight, but we blew them out. We shut them down. I believe that type of momentum, you don't want to lose that. You know what I mean? And so I feel like if we do what we're supposed to do, the statement that we can, and I believe we will make in Baton Rouge, is going to be the statement that we should have made against Tennessee. So that dynamic of losing to Vanderbilt and what we saw tonight, that's what we should have done to South Carolina, and that's what we expected to some degree, to right those wrongs. And for whatever reason, it seemed like they couldn't clearly define what those issues were. So that's why we still saw certain issues against Tennessee, and it kind of trickled down. But I believe after a win like this, now we move into a bye week. Kobe Prentice, he can work on rebuilding that chemistry with Jalen Milroe, because we have to remember, like, he took a hard hit against Vanderbilt, and so he hasn't really been playing that much since then. And so I believe that him getting that chemistry, I believe what we should be able to see is, of course, our defense keep that momentum, remain as physical as they are, and then now with Bray getting those reps, that's going to be crucial, because we know Keon is most likely not going to play in that game. So I think it's good that Bray has been getting those reps. But then on the offensive side, the way we've been able to spread it out with these different receivers, I believe that's going to be a key factor to beating LSU, because everyone wants to cover Ryan Williams. It shouldn't just be him, and so I think with that dynamic plus the run game, and them seeing, like you said, like Matt was saying before he dropped, just talking about some of those formations and just the small things to tweak, and now we see how well our run game can be. I mean, I believe that the ceiling, we haven't even gotten close to it. So beating LSU at LSU is how it's going to look, is what it should have been when we played Tennessee, and I believe that that's going to really be the door that solidifies our bid, because that's going to give us exactly what we need to go into Oklahoma, to beat Auburn at home, to seal the deal. And playoffs is still in the future. We just have to win out and win convincingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, come at us like that elephant in your background, sir.
Yes. We got a huge 1-game season starting in 2 weeks. Let's use this week to get well, get healthy, get reps. But going forward, I think, the dynamic of the offense is going to have to start with our 2 horses we have in the backfield, in Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. Then, we take our chance with the big plays, which we're capable, we know we'll be there, we're capable of making. But I think going forward, we have to establish the run, with our 2 running backs, who are more than capable. And that'll allow our offense to lean on teams early in the game. And I think we put ourselves in a much better situation. Defense, great turnaround. We're going on three or 4 games now. Consistent play. I love what I'm seeing from the defense now. The defense turned the corner. I think the offense is still there. It's slowly turning, but we got to get to establishing the run a little bit earlier.
Absolutely, Petty. Talk to me, man. I don't think anyone dislikes the corn dogs more than you, especially being a rebel.
Purple shirt and yellow britches.
Go ahead and finish that out.
You're not a Lakers fan.
Go to hell, you son of bitches. Look, have you never heard? Sorry, we don't treat.
No.
We tell each other where we can go, and it's not a nice place to sushi.
Okay, well.
We're heading down.
People who are saved don't go there.
Yeah, we're headed down to the land of carny folk. And now they've given them bracelets. So it's a big coon-ass Taylor Swift concert when Colin Baton Rouge breaks out. It's gosh damn amazing. So, holy hell. But on the good front, man, this isn't a house of horrors for Alabama. This is a place where Alabama's gone down and won a lot of games. But it's going to be lit. Because I'll say this, man. Say what you want about LSU. I'm sorry. I know I like to make fun of the carny folks down there that wear purple and gold. They've gotten better each week. They're playing the milkman dude cheerleaders right now. They're up 3-0 on the road. Man, LSU, like after beating Ole Miss narrowly, they went to Fayette Nam in a trap game and just beat the hell out of Arkansas. So man, I'll be honest. You ask what's Alabama's chances at the playoffs? Well, there's no margin for error at this point. You can't go 9-3. You got to win out.
Did you say Fayette Nam?
Yeah, Fayette Nam.
Fayetteville. That's what the Alabama players.
Yeah, it's Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's Fayette Nam. And if you go into Mississippi to play Mississippi State, it's Starkganistan. I've got names for all of them. We can keep going.
I've never heard of this.
Oh yeah, it's third world country SEC stadiums gets crazy.
I'm like, is my audio going out? Like, what did he say?
No, Petty's saying all this crazy shit. It's Petty. There's no filter, and it is what it is. No, it's a big off week, but look, it's the perfect setup. You don't want to go into an off week with a loss where you're licking your wounds, you're questioning yourself. You're going into an off week where you actually salve a lot of wounds. Your defense is feeling good about itself. Yes, the offense has to get better, but you kind of started finding an identity in that second half. Freaking stick with it. Run the damn ball. Because again, I do think LSU's probably one of the more dangerous teams in the SEC right now, but good God, look at college football. Nebraska lost 52-7 to Indiana last week and was a hair away from beating Ohio State today.
Mm-hmm.
It's nobody is just not beatable or unbeatable. So regardless of the fact that LSU could be undefeated and it could be a hornet's nest, everybody's got flaws right now. And I think it's a good matchup. So you got to go, you got to get fixed, you got to get right, and you got to get ready to play in a place and look, man, as well as Bama's done there, Milroe has struggled in big opposing stadiums.
Yeah,
this is going to be the most hostile environment he stepped in. I don't want to take away Tennessee's freaking nuts, but this is up there with it. The two craziest places in the SEC. We're going to get them 2 out of 4 weeks, and you've got to keep your composure in that play. So, I mean, I want to see this team just keep coming together and see what, again, it's not an expectation thing. I want to see this team continue to grow towards that Alabama standard and keep going. I think back to the playoff. I know I'm rambling. There is no margin for error. You got to go take care of it in Baton Rouge. But you do that. You knock off LSU, I'm sorry. The schedule gets very damn favorable to run it on out.
Without we talk about the run game, but we have to remember the O-line too, right? Sometimes we'll hit on it here and there, but I think Chris Kaplovic, they got to get that tight end on that right side until they can strengthen that, because otherwise they're not opening up run lanes, right? We're not helping out Milroe with the sacks and all of that if we can't strengthen that, particularly that right side. So, absolutely,
and Petty, to your point, margin for error is very minimal, and we look at what Brian Kelly and LSU have done to this point. There was a point where it felt like he may have been losing his team and losing himself with all his antics and his tirades or whatnot. But that's a coach who has quietly got everything together. He's got his team in Baton Rouge believing again. And like you said, should have been a trap game where Arkansas, for the most part, probably could have won. They quickly shut that down and said, no, look, this wasn't a fluke winning against Ole Miss. This is LSU now. So he's got them peaking and coming together at exactly the right time. And, of course, if they win tonight, it's really going to show us something in terms of how good LSU can be and just how on our P's and Q's will need to be. And also to your second point about Jalen Milroe, in hostile environments, it doesn't get any more difficult than Baton Rouge at night, all the voodoo and everything going nuts. So during these next 2 weeks, we really need, as a coaching staff, to sit down and kind of get into the psychology of things in terms of Jalen Milroe and figure out exactly where he lost his swing. Weeks 1 through 3, that Georgia game, he was playing at his best. He definitely looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate. Then something pulled the plug. It caused him to regress at a fast pace, and his confidence level has not been able to get back to what we saw early on. So we really need to spend some time working on that, repairing whatever caused that, and eliminating it. That way, come time to play LSU in that road game that is for everything, he's able to be that same guy that we saw against Georgia. So these 2 weeks are very important for him and the coaching staff getting on the same page.
And one more thing I want to add. You talk about the coaching staff. This is a crucial week for these guys. Look, man, and you were talking about a lot of people like to get on Kelly, and I get it, man. I have some issues with some stuff that happened with him at Notre Dame. I think he's a weird guy. I don't think he is a natural fit at LSU, but he is keeping that team together. But more so than ever, and I've heard you talk about it, Justin, we've talked about it on the network, is making halftime adjustments and adjustments. Well, man, halftime adjustments aren't as big of a deal as they used to be now that we have iPads. You're making, your own defense, and you got a commercial break. You got 7 minutes, virtually half a halftime, to look at an iPad to see what they're running and make adjustments. I'll be real with you. I don't know if there's anybody better in the SEC right now at that than Brian Kelly at LSU. He even called it out when they were playing Ole Miss. It's in the third quarter, so he knows Ole Miss isn't about to get this information, and they're giving him the interview. And he said, oh, yeah, Ole Miss is running too high at safety. They're keeping everything underneath. We're about to start running these crossing routes and change our offense to this. You literally watch their offense marching down the field the next drive on Ole Miss doing just that. So this is a week where I'm telling you, Bama coaches, this is where you're going to have to also out-coach the other side. You're not going to be able just to bully ball them, beat them. You're going to be in a coaching X's and O's matchup, and this is one where, man, whatever scheme you got, the first half needs to be different the second. Just be ready to change it up and be ready to go on the fly, because this is going to be a raucous environment and a coaching staff that can see what your tendencies are and switch to it quickly. So you're going to have to be right on top of it. So, man, this is going to be a hell of a chess match, not just a big boy title fight like Alabama LSU usually is. It's also going to be a match of minds. And look, DeBoer could do it. DeBoer and Sheridan say they're as good on the chalkboard as anybody in the country, but you got to get your shit together this week.
Absolutely. All right, real quick, Dan, I know that you have to jump off. You got some things going on in your world, and we appreciate everything you have brought to the table. It's always definitely the eye candy for all the people in the audience, all your fans.
Well, look, the lap dance tips are starting to stack up. Dan's got to go make the rounds.
He's got to. But before you head out, my friend, I want you to tell us your players of the game, and then we'll get the thoughts of the rest of the panel. And, sir, you were on mute again.
Players of the game, I'm going to go with the running back tandem with Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. Defensive player of the game, my guy, Bray Hubbard. He played a tremendous game, and, he kind of helped set the tone on the defense. So, tremendous game from those young fellas. Hey, roll tide. We got a bye week. Let's enjoy it. Get some rest. Y'all guys, I'm here y'all go knock that honeydew list out. 2 weeks is LSU week, Hey. So I got a honeydew list this week, so we'll see.
We appreciate it, brother. Have a good night and roll tide, sir.
Hey,
yes, sir. Roll tide. Always good to hear from the star of this show. Ms. Sishi, if you would, tell me your players of the game, and then Petty will give his.
My two on offense were Jeremy Bernard and then Justice Haynes. And then on defense, I had Q Rob and Bray Hubbard.
Love it. Petty?
I'm with Sishi completely on offense. Bernard and Haynes. I would like to give 2 others, but those are the 2 I want to give it to. So they're getting it. Defense, obviously Bray I'm gonna give him, but I'm gonna shout out 2 other names. I thought Malachi really stood up tonight. I thought he was more physical in the run game tonight than it seems like he's been in a while. Maybe I'm going to go back and look, but he seemed to be bringing it. And Jahad Campbell, he seemed to be playing a little pissed off tonight. And I was glad to see that. So those two guys, I feel like, again, there was a lot of heat coming out from a lot of areas this week. And there were some guys that I saw play with a little bit of fire. And those two I thought did tonight. So those two, and of course, Bernard and Haynes. God, I love Haynes. Keep giving him the damn ball. Be justice.
I love that. And I'm just going to go ahead and echo you. I can't deny what you two have just brought up. Justice Haynes. I've always been a fan of the big Bama running backs. That's what got me to be a fan, the physical running style. And that's something that's kind of gone away here in recent memory. But today, full display. Love what I saw from Justice Haynes. Jeremy Bernard, when you needed a big play, he was there to make it happen. And he literally did not quit until the whistle was blown. Love that from the kid. Defensive side of the ball, Bray Hubbard, a guy that you just fall in love with more every week because of what he's bringing to the table. He's growing up very fast, understanding the assignment, and Malachi Moore doing his thing. But hey, what about Quay Russaw?
Oh, Quay, man.
Yeah. that pick, linebackers aren't supposed to be able to make movements like that.
Hubbard's giving me those Vinny Sinceri vibes, man.
I was literally just thinking about Vinny.
He
got it.
He's just everywhere. He's
But
everywhere,
faster.
and you don't know how he gets there, but he's there.
Mm-hmm. He got it.
Amber, to answer your question, do you guys think Keon Sabb might be back for LSU? No, he is going to be out. I believe what they said, 4 to 6 weeks. Well, broken foot. So that's going to be something that's going to be taking quite some time to heal.
Let's go ahead and speak this into existence. We'll have him for the playoffs. So yeah, we'll see him again. It'll be for the playoffs. Hey, do y'all feel like Bray Hubbard is the Jake Pope that we were hoping to see when we had Jake Pope at Alabama?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a grade above.
Yeah,
speed is much better. Instincts much better. He's a guy who's not afraid to hit. He's not a gambler like Sabb, but he's very cerebral. He's smart. Everything he does is calculated. I love what he brings to the table.
Yeah, me too.
We got a couple of questions before we head on out of here. Huge Bama fan. What are your thoughts on the call against Overton?
It was 2 letters, BS, to say the least.
Because you're so sweet. Does that mean bull study or bull stutter bullshit?
Hey, I'll let you say it. Hey, you remember on that movie White Girls? You were thinking it, but you said it.
Yes, man. Only on the Bama Standard Network.
There was two officiating calls in the game tonight where I just looked around like, what are we doing?
That literally makes sense. Like, and God forbid if we were down. You know what I mean?
Lord.
Like stuff like that can actually cost the game. Like these guys need to get it together. The officiating.
That's where the SEC's dumbasses don't realize what happened in Texas will start happening in other places real quick. I've been in that Bama student section. We ain't scared to toss some stuff.
Alabama's he's been biting and everything.
Put a little bourbon in that drink all day and get a little fired up, and it's
all.
Absolutely. All right, Monica Petaway. From your show, Sishi.
I know. Shout out to Monica.
Monica, not looking ahead, but do you think Texas A&M gives us a blueprint for LSU?
We're the blueprint, but I do think that honestly, it's Texas A&M, but also our team. We need to go back and watch the USC matchup with LSU earlier. Now it was earlier in the season, but I do believe that USC kind of exposed certain things with even from a discipline perspective with LSU that I think may be worth looking into. And even
there's
South
a couple
Carolina.
of blueprints. And look, you don't look at the score, but they'll go back and watch the Ole Miss game because Ole Miss actually dominated up until like the final drive of that game, and there was things that you can exploit on LSU. So, and see, she's dead on. You're going to take the USC game. You're going to take you're going to take the Ole Miss game. UCLA was able to do some stuff against them. There's a little bit of that, but no, I mean, Bama's they're going to be a little bit different on offense than all those guys. But yeah, there's a few games you can take. Looking at it right now, you're not going to be taking this A&M game.
Well, but honestly, though, I prefer LSU to win tonight. I prefer them to win tonight. I want Texas A&M to give them a full 4 quarters, but we need LSU to win tonight.
Like I love that mentality, that version of the fan mentality, Sishi. So I'm glad you said it like that. Yeah, we want them coming in. Well, and also at this point with 2 losses, you want your resume when it does come to 10-2 to be the best possible, because
exactly build that resume.
You don't know what Vandy's going to do to finish out the season. I know they're a Cinderella right now, but they've got some tough. They've got to play LSU. They've got to play some other big games that they're going to probably take some more losses, and that's going to affect a resume. Well, if LSU comes in and their only SEC loss is Alabama, that's an act. Look, we're hate to be it. We're the NCAA big dance type stuff now. And when you have taken losses, unfortunately, you do have to start looking at resume.
Exactly. Well, so but that's what but that's what the playoff committee, that's what they say that they look at, the strength of your wins and your losses as well. So if you have an Alabama that lost to Tennessee and Vanderbilt, looking at where Vanderbilt is right now as far as how well they've been playing, and if you have an LSU that lost to a USC, and then if we beat them, they're going to look at that USC loss for LSU and our Vandy loss, and they're going to compare the two. And when I look at the two, I would put Vanderbilt over USC, just seeing them playing in the SEC, how they've been playing opponents, Texas. So it's like that perspective has to be a part of it. And I don't like LSU. I'm not a fan of LSU at all, but I want to see them win tonight so that, we can hand them their next L. That's all I'm saying.
But that Georgia win does carry a lot of weight too. But
yeah,
we got one final question, and who better than to ask the panel than Don Parker? Question for the panel: shouldn't the coaching staff treat this bye week as if Bama took a loss today, still seeing so many fundamental mistakes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, go Sushi.
Why'd you say it like
Because
I know. I mean, even with Kendrick Law, he didn't have to push that guy. I mean, that was like stuff like that. It's like the mental side of things where that can literally cost you an entire game. So, I mean, it's still some stuff to work on. Like Coach Saban say, that 24-hour rule.
I'm telling them, y'all didn't beat anybody. Y'all beat a high school offense. Congratulations. You're about to go to Death Valley with Nussmeier, who can actually sling the dang rock. They're going to have Keon Lacey, who they can actually get the ball to. They couldn't get it to Luther Burden today. Guys, y'all quit smelling your own farts. We got to get back and playing some football. Yeah, you treat this like a loss. You treat, and like you said, point out everything they screwed up. K-Law's got to clean up the personal fouls, man. And yeah.
But he's unstoppable. We got to find a way to work him into our offensive play callings more, because he's good. That guy is good, and he's been good, but he has to work on that mental side of things for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Both of you guys. You won, but you hadn't won nothing yet. And it's 0-0, and you got to go out and prove yourself against LSU. So, yeah, you definitely don't want to take the approach like the guys did a few weeks ago, where they thought they were unstoppable and end up walking in there.
Already smoking their cigars.
Already smoking cigars. Yes, I get it that Josh Chapman apparently does that every game, but you know what?
Don't do it that one. Have a little bit of wherewithal.
Don't do it in that game, but if you are going to do it in that game, keep it behind.
He should have had it in his pocket, like let it kind of show through the pocket a little bit.
I'm sorry, he does it before every game isn't a damn excuse. You're playing in the cigar game where people are going to be watching. Just a little bit common sense there.
You are absolutely crazy. 10 toes down. Alabama never had a chance. Excuse me, sir. We could have literally been up 21-0 against y'all at halftime. That was on us. Y'all know it. We could have sent y'all home in the third quarter. Like, we know it, right? I mean, come on. That was on us. That was on us.
All right. Let's begin to close up shop. We have other things that we do outside of this wonderful post-game show. Tell the folks how they can find you and tell them about your shows. Patty, start us out, and then we'll let Sishi promote what she's got.
Well, I'm obviously here with you guys tonight. I'm usually here at the post game, but on Monday nights, I'm with my man Gerald Smoke Dixon at 7 Central on the opening kick. Man, we'll talk probably a little bit Alabama, but then we talk the college football world as a whole. Whatever the biggest thing going on, we're probably talking about it game-wise and stuff. So check me and Smoke out, 7 o'clock Monday night. And then on Tuesday night, after the flagship, the Bama Standard, I'm on the final whistle at 8 Central, 9 Eastern. with my guys at Avengers, Matt Cadell, who was there with us earlier. Also Dan James that was with us earlier. His brother Chris James, Lushawn Graves, Ty. The crew, man, we'll be there on Tuesday night talking more Bama, getting us ready for this off week. So maybe looking a little bit at LSU or who knows.
All right.
That's where you can find it Monday and Tuesday nights on this lovely network.
CG?
Yeah, and then right before I say mine, I will say to the 10 toes down tall guy, Tennessee fan, just make sure I have respect for Tennessee. Y'all are doing a great thing. We should have won that game. But I will say when y'all play Georgia, beat Georgia, please. Thank you. You can find me every Wednesday here on the Bama Standard Network. My show is called Crimson Dynasty. We go live every Wednesday night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to check that out. And then you can find me on Twitter on X at official Sishi without the apostrophe. And then you can find me on Instagram at beauty_of_intelligence. And that'll do it for me.
Sounds great, folks. Also, we have a lot more going on in this network. If you're not catching the scrolling marquee with all of our contact information, you'll also notice that we have several shows on this network. Tomorrow night is 7 p.m. Central. We got Sunday Night Talking Bama. We got Josh J.T. Tucker, Justin J.B. Baines, Stephen M. Smith, and Marshall Bean with a 24 hours later review of this game and then the look ahead. Definitely tune in to what they got going on. As Petty already mentioned, he's got a great show with Smoke Dixon on Monday nights. You definitely got to take full advantage of. Listen to what they had to say. And I got to warn you guys, put a little bit of a disclaimer on here. If you're a snowflake, that's not the show for you because they are dropping it as they see it. Just want to give you a little bit of a warning. Now, as far as me, the Bama Standard, Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Come check us out. We're going to be talking about this game. We're also going to be taking quite a look ahead for the off week, what to expect, what's actually going on. We're going to take an inside look about what's going on behind closed doors so you can have a better understanding of how we're preparing for LSU. We'll have a very nice guest. Trent Richardson will be with us Tuesday night. Definitely want to check that out. And let's see, after CC show, check out Teague's Take, 8:15 p.m. Central on Wednesday night. And then right back here again for the Bama Standard postgame show, but that won't be for 2 weeks from now. So, but stay tuned and be sure and check out all the clips. Got a great clip from Petty's show. Got a great clip from CC show from this past week. Stephen Smith and one of his very animated rants. We got a lot of great stuff. This is the first and last stop for all great Bama content. So always tune into what we got coming to you, that is. That's going to do it for all of us. Alabama 34, Missouri nothing. And Petty's got one more thing.
Yeah, quick update. Sorry, there's been an alert on my phone. Apparently, there was a massage parlor convention in Auburn, and Hugh just stayed in Auburn, and now they're losing 10-0 to Kentucky. They might not win a game. Sorry, I had to give that urgent bulletin. Hugh is stuck in Auburn at a massage parlor convention while his football team is getting hosed by a pretty shitty Kentucky bunch. Sorry.
Yeah, the Auburn fans were in the chat earlier, but then I got quiet when they started losing. But that shouldn't come to any surprise, right? Like that's what they do, right? So
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt that. Just got that news bulletin finished. Sorry, Justin. Finish that
all right, well, that's all we got tonight. And again, hit that like and subscribe button if you watch the replay. Give us your thoughts, and then we will see all of you next week on the shows we have on this network. Until then, roll tide.
Roll Tide.